Hey there. Welcome to Better Days Start Today. I'm Adrienne, and today we are exploring a question that could change everything for you if you decide to really hone in and think about it. The question is, what if you knew exactly when and how your time would run out? No small question, I know. I've been reading the book called Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. You might know her from Big Little Lies or Nine Perfect Strangers. Both of those were turned into major TV series. She writes very layered emotional stories that kind of stick with you and get you thinking. And this one has gotten under my skin a bit. I'm not actually done reading the book yet. I'm about 60% of the way in, but I didn't want this to be all about the book. I wanted it to be about how it's gotten me thinking about things. So I'm going to bring you into the story a little bit. No spoilers. Don't worry if you haven't read the book, which I highly recommend it. I mean, maybe by the time I get to the ending, I'll be like, why did it end like this? I don't know. But as of right now, I'm loving it. So in the book, a woman boards a flight from Hobart to Sydney, and she's calmly walking down the aisle and she looks passengers in the eye as she goes one by one. And she predicts the exact age and the cause of death for each person. If they try to protest or disagree, she tells them, you can't fight fate. Now, of course, the reactions are mixed. Some people laugh, some people are terrified, some people are super excited because they've supposedly got decades ahead of them, going to die at 102 from old age. But some of them have really short timelines, like a month, or their 28th birthday was today and they're supposed to die by self harm at age 28. So anytime within the next year, it could be tomorrow, it could be weeks from now, who knows, but sometime during this year. And some of them are a few years down the line. But basically, they're told their age and their manner of death and that they can't fight fate. So, of course, for everybody, things start to shift, things start to change. Some people spiral, other people are trying to make some changes. They're trying to, in fact, fight fate and figure out if there's a way that they could shift things so that won't be the prediction anymore. But everyone, whether they want to or not, is forced to ask, what would I do if I knew my timeline was running out? Now, I'm somebody that I feel is intentional about my time. I prioritize the people and the things that matter to me, the experiences that matter to me. But even still, I sometimes find myself spending my time in a way where I'm wondering, why am I doing this? I don't feel like doing this. But the thing is, all of our time is running out. That's just a universal truth for all of us. We're not going to be here forever. We're all on a running clock. Can't outrun it, can't change it. The inevitability is we're all going to die. But of course, we tend to live like we're not. Now, if you're somebody like myself that has had near death experiences, you're pretty in tune to that fact that death is going to happen and it has informed your choices and the way that you choose to live. For some people, they may have lost somebody very close to them. And that made it crystal clear that, hey, we're not here forever. I got to think about this. I got to be intentional. And of course, some of us just, we're not going to acknowledge that truth. It may apply for everybody, but I'm not going to think about how it applies to me. So we just live like we're not on a clock. We put things off. We tell ourselves it's not the right time. We numb out. We wait. We assume that we have forever. You know, the old, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'll start Monday. I'm going to leave my job a year from now. Whatever it is for you, we assume that we have forever. But of course, we don't. According to the Decision Lab, we make about 35,000 choices every day. Some might say it's more, some might say it's a little bit less, but let's just use 35,000 for a baseline. Most of these decisions are unconscious. But if we're making 35,000 choices every day, you're making choices that can keep you stuck, they can shift your direction, that can get you out of autopilot. But yet, most of these decisions, these choices that we're making, they're unconscious. So we are, in fact, to some degree, living on autopilot. And I came across this other little statistic that got me thinking. So, a global study by HSBC found that over 80% of people have at least one major life goal they've never pursued. Not because they didn't want it, but because they are waiting. They're waiting for clarity, waiting for permission, waiting to figure it out, waiting for the right moment. So, I want to ask you, what would you do differently if you had 1 year left? Would you leave the job that drains you? Would you end the relationship that you've outgrown? Would you say the thing that you've been holding back? would you start the thing that you keep putting off until someday? Someday I'm going to learn how to speak Mandarin. Someday I'm going to go to Europe. Someday I'm going to start a business. Someday I'm going to write a book. If you knew you were on a clock, would that still be something left for someday? Would it be something that you're going to act on now? And that can help you bring into perspective some of the things you're telling yourself are goals and things that you want to do that you can let go of. Because if your clock was ticking, you probably wouldn't care about it. But for some of those things, they're going to become super important when you think about the fact that the clock is ticking. And those are the things you want to prioritize. So I want you to consider that first question: what would you do differently if you had 1 year left? And if there's anything that you would do differently, if you're like, I would absolutely do this now, I would make this happen, I would plan the trip, whatever. I want you to ask yourself, why aren't you doing those things now? We all have stories that we tell ourselves. We all have reasons. We all have excuses that seem like facts. But this is about freedom. You don't have to change everything today, overnight. You don't have to burn down your whole life. But if you remember that your time matters, your life matters, and both of those things are going to run out at some point, that gets you thinking in the now. You don't need a stranger on a plane to remind you that you're mortal, that you're going to die. You already know this. This is information we all have. And if you're feeling the weight of that truth right now, good. That's a good thing. That weight is an invitation to assess your life, to reimagine your life, to reinvent your life, to take action. As a coach, I challenge people to move from living by default to live by design. And to do that, we have to ask ourselves better questions. They could be questions like, is this still working? Is this still right for me? What's calling me forward? What am I afraid to admit that I want? You don't have to burn it all down. You really don't. I mean, I've burnt my life down a couple times at this point. I like a fresh start. Maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe you're in the middle of a fresh start that you didn't ask for. Sometimes that's life. But the thing is, you don't need a whole plan to make changes. If you've been listening to my podcast, if you've consumed any of my content, you know that I am all about figuring out the one thing that you can do today to get closer to the life that you want. What is one small thing? If you want a healthy, strong body, maybe that starts with getting in your steps today, taking a walk around your neighborhood. If you want to start a business, maybe that starts with figuring out what you want that business to be and how you can bring it to life. Just some ideas, some brainstorming. You don't have to have the whole business plan, but you can just start jotting some ideas down, start exploring it, be curious about it. The thing is, if you start looking at one thing that you can do to get closer to the life that you want, you might realize that you're not as stuck as you think you are. You're not as incapable of shaking things up as you're telling yourself. The story of stuck, that's an illusion. The truth is, we can change so much in our lives if we just choose to. It's not always easy, but it's possible. I do believe that we're either moving towards what matters in our life or we're moving away from it. This middle ground of inaction or nothingness or not making the big decision, that's not a real space. You're either actively moving towards the life that you want or you're not. Maybe you're telling yourself, I do have these big dreams. I've got these big goals. There's a lot of stuff I'd love to shift in my life. I know I'm not living my most intentional, authentic life as it is right now. And if I had a year to live, oh, baby, I would change some things up, but it's not practical. Now's not the right time. I've got a job that's paying all of my bills. I've got kids I have to feed. I've got sick parents. I've got debt. I've got fill in the blank for whatever the thing is that's keeping you telling yourself that whatever change you want to make isn't practical. That's not the right time. It doesn't make sense. You can't do it. But here's a thought. What if practical isn't the point? Like, what if your life isn't supposed to be super practical? What if sometimes taking the risk is the right choice? What if what's possible is bigger than you've allowed yourself to believe? I don't think we can see all of our own possibilities. We can't see the amazing outcomes that are possible to us. We might think we're dreaming the biggest, most incredible, ultimate version of our lives, but we don't know what we don't know. So what you think are the possible outcomes might just be like a tiny little part of the story. And there's all this other stuff that's possible that you are not even aware of. What if things could be better? than you've allowed yourself to believe? What if you could be happier? What if you could wake up excited about the life that you're in? I'm not saying every day is going to be a 10 out of 10. That's unrealistic. But you have more good days than bad. You have an enthusiasm for your life more than you have dread. That's possible. That is for sure possible. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to have a tragedy strike to justify changing something. You just have to decide that today counts. Today matters. Your life matters. You can want things to be a certain way for yourself. You can want to live a certain type of life. That's okay. So ask yourself, if you had 1 year left, what would you stop doing? What would you finally start doing? What's a dream that you are delaying for someday? And what belief is keeping you from making a change right now? Journal about it. Talk to someone about it. Talk to a friend. Talk to a coach. Reach out to me. Or use AI, right? Hop on a ChatGPT and you can reflect and uncover desires that you've buried. You can ask questions that you might be too afraid to ask yourself. You can tell it about your situation, your dreams, your fears, the story you're telling yourself, why you're not taking action, and ask it to uncover what unconscious beliefs are holding you in place. What is so great that you can't even see it yet? What am I afraid to admit to myself? I'm not saying these answers are going to be the end all be all, but it may reflect back to you things that you haven't yet considered. If you don't know where to start with any of this or with ChatGPT, AI, I've created something just for you. It's called Reimagine Your Life. And this is an AI-powered reflection experience that helps you explore possibilities. It'll help you see a vision for your future again, one that's probably bigger and better and more incredible than you would imagine on your own. And it helps you take that first small step that I'm talking about. So you're going in the direction of a life that feels like yours. You can download it for free. I put the link in the show notes, which is just the episode description. So you can find it there. Just click on the link. If this episode stirred something in you, if it got you thinking, kind of like the book got me thinking, why I wanted to start this conversation, I want you to tell me about it. Screenshot this episode. Tag me on social media. I'm on Instagram @_Adrienne Crowley. And share one thing that you're ready to do differently. Or share one thing that you're thinking about now because of this. If you feel like you're in a place where you want to make some changes, you want to reinvent your life a bit, you want to reimagine what's possible, and you feel like you need some support, right? This is no tall order. We've been through some hard stuff. The old way isn't working anymore. We want something different for ourselves. That's not super easy to just like, oh, I'm just going to jump on this path by myself and figure it out as I go. Of course, that's scary. That's daunting. If you want some support, trying to figure out what's next, I want you to go to my site and schedule a complimentary coaching call. Truly 90 minutes, me and you, and we're going to work through some stuff. I will put the link to that in the show notes as well. Or if you just go to my website, www.adriennecrowley.com/contact, there's a form there. You can fill it out, put your info in. I will get back to you. We'll get that call scheduled. I know that you will have an insight or a breakthrough on that call. I'm confident in that. So until next time, I hope this has been helpful. I want you to take whatever small step that is that you need to take. I want you to say the thing to the person you've been holding back. I want you to follow your curiosity. Just see where it leads you. Your better days, they start today. Thanks so much for spending time with me on Better Days Start Today. If you loved this episode, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the podcast, and leave a review. It helps more people find this space and start creating their better days too. And hey, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter at adriennecrowley.com. You'll get exclusive tips, tools, and access to complimentary events designed to support you every step of the way. Until next time, remember, your better days, they start today.